So you want to move to Spain out here in the rural countryside, El Campo, and you think I'll be able to have some wonderful backyard barbecues. Well, I thought the same thing. I've got all my barbecue accoutrements spread out here on this table, but it's a lot more complicated than you might think. There's a lot more rules than I ever imagined. It took me a month just to get a propane bottle, and they didn't give me propane. I'll get into that in a minute. But if you think you're gonna move to Spain and you wanna have barbecues, charcoal, gas, a Blackstone, a paella cooker, whatever kind of barbecue you wanna do in your backyard, a pellet cooker, there may be some rules that are gonna prevent you from doing it during the summertime. During the summertime, I'm gonna tell you all about it. This is Uncorked in rural Spain. And oh my Lord, the rules here are just something else. Like I said, I've been trying to get this propane bottle here for over a month, and it says on all the websites that you can just go to a gas station where they sell these things and pick one up. You might have to fill out a paperwork. No, it doesn't work like that. We went to every gas station around here. We called every Repsol and Sepsol, whatever the other gas company is. We called every one of their gas stations that are within an hour drive of here. And none of them said that we could come to their store and buy a bottle of propane or butane. So what we ended up having to do was we had to go on the website, and then we actually had to talk to a person. We couldn't even just do it online. We had to get in touch with we had to wait for somebody to call us back. Then we had to go online, fill out the paperwork. Then we had to wait for the person to call us back. And then they asked us to send them pictures of what we're going to connect our butane or propane to. For me, it was this griddle cooker. In Spanish, it's called La Plancha. And one of the housewarming presents that we got was this handy dandy paella cooker that people who gave it to me gave me the paella pan that goes with it too. Very thoughtful housewarming present. So we had to send them pictures of these two things. And then they came back to us and they said, no, you can't have propane. You have to have butane for these products, which I'm not familiar with butane being from the US. Nobody uses butane. Everybody uses propane or natural gas. And it said they're basically the same thing. My Google research told me people use butane inside the house because it's a little bit safer the way that it cooks, and they use propane outside because it's a little bit more economical. This bottle at the local hardware store, I looked at the replacement cost when I was there today, buying these other pieces that I'm going to tell you more about here in a second. This is a 12 liter, is that what this is? 12 kilogram butane tank, and it's $24 to replace, and the propane one, I think it said, was 19 euros to replace. So anyway, so they had to deliver. I had to wait for them to deliver. After we did all this online, talking to the local rep, filling out the paperwork, they had to deliver it to our house. Okay, but that's not what we paid the first time. So this cost us about $65. I think it's basically like a deposit for the thing. If you can find, here's the trick. If you can find somebody that owns a used one of these, or you can find one on Facebook Marketplace or Wallapop or some used furniture store, wherever you can find one, you can just go trade it in. You don't have to go through all this hassle. But if you don't own one and you need to buy your first one, you have to go through all this rigmarole. And then I paid $65 for this one. Then when I go trade it in, I'll pay that lower price. Okay, so that is all about the butane propane debacle. So, well, that's not actually all. So I got this plancha off of the Amazon. I think it came from Italy or Bulgaria or somewhere. So it came with everything I needed. It came with the regulator, and this attachment, the hose, fits here, and then this fits here. Only this piece here was too small, and it doesn't fit on where you hook it on to that thing, because that thing has a thing that is this big. Way too small. So I took this hose to the hardware store, the ferreteria, and luckily I took my propane bottle too, because I figured they were all standard and they would know exactly what I needed. And when I showed them this, they're like, we don't understand what you're talking about. I said, I have the propane tank in the car. They said, go get it. So I took him in there, and then they said, oh, well, you need this guy. Uh, it's a regulator for butane. I asked him if the regulator for the butane and the propane are the same, because if I switch this to butane when I get it, or from butane to propane when I get my new tank, I was like, is this going to work? And they were like, we're not sure. Maybe, probably. I was like, don't y'all sell these tanks here? He was like, yeah. I was like, you don't know if they have the same connectors? He was like, no. So anyway, I'm either stuck with butane forever or we don't know. So this thing, instead of screwing on like we're used to in the US, you have to push this thing down, push it on the top, bing, bang, boom. And then it has this valve on the top that I'm not quite sure what it does. So I have to connect this to this. So I have to just cut this off. He said, cut this off right here and then push this on here. And then he said, heat it up with a torch, which I don't have. And then he said, use a hose clamp. So we're going to do that. Oh, no, I have to cut this end off because I don't need this. It doesn't matter. This just unscrews. So, and then this will be my hose for my plancha. And then he told me I should buy a second one. And then this is just a blank hose on both ends. This is comes with 2 hose clamps and the hose. So he said, get a second one of these because you don't want to trade that out all the time. So I'll connect this one to this hose to this regulator. Put these hose clamps on it that I bought extra too, because the paella cooker comes with this fitting. Maybe I have to move my face to focus on it. It's just another thing that the hose will just push on, and then I'll put the hose clamp on there. And oh, it's got 2 valves because it's got 2 rings of fire. I've obviously never used this either. So those are my 2 barbecuing utensils that I have. And you might be asking yourself, but Jeff, you're from the US, you need fire and charcoal and manly stuff but you can't. No, here's the other kicker. Here in Aragon, the Aragon region that I live in, there are no outdoor fires or barbecues from June 1st to October 15th. So if I could have just bought a charcoal barbecue grill, I wouldn't have had to go through all this problem. But it says that they're banned. There's a little bit of, we're not 100% sure that barbecues on private property are banned, but we're pretty sure. And even though we live out here in the country and no one could see us, they could possibly see smoke coming up from a barbecue. And if you were to catch anything on fire, which I'm sure I wouldn't, but you never know. The fines are very steep. They range from $1,000 to $100,000 depending on how big the fire is. And if anybody's life is in danger, you could go to prison for 3 to 5 or 6 years. And they could charge you up to $1 million as a fine. So I figure, you know what? We'll just go with these gas grill propane things. I think it'll be fun to make some paellas. It'll be fun to have the Blackstone style plancha griddle thing. I've never had one of these before. I'm looking forward to doing some breakfast out here. So that is just a little bit about what it takes if you want to do a barbecue here in Spain. So if you're thinking about moving to Spain, or you just think it's interesting to see what life in Spain looks like, I hope you'll consider subscribing to the channel. Give me a big thumbs up. We're a brand new channel. I have like 49 subscribers right now. So we're just brand new. So I really appreciate any likes and follows and comments down there. If you are thinking about moving here, let me know. Or if you were very shocked to find out the difficulties and what it takes to barbecue in Spain, just leave me a comment down there that says, wow, I never would have thought it was such a Spain in the ass. Think about making t-shirts that say Spain in the ass. About some of these things. We had one of these days today. You know, they talk about when you move to a new country, you have some days that are just really trying and very difficult. And we've had one of these days, partly with the barbecue, partly with some things going on with other projects that we've got going on around here. But we've had one of those trying days. So I'm having a cold beer. I'm going to try to get this hooked up. And if I do, maybe I'll give you guys a video of using some of this equipment. And show you what a barbecue actually looks like. But I just want to tell you all the difficulties I've had just trying to do a barbecue here. So that's what really life in rural Spain looks like. Thanks for watching.